Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Assure Customer Webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to be sharing what's new inside of Assure 2.0 in this webinar. And we hope you'll find these useful because we definitely want to continue having more of product-centered webinars in the future. Before we get started, I wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping items. The webinar will be recorded, and the slides and recording will be sent around via email to everyone who's registered. And for captions, you have two options. One, closed captions in Zoom, or you can follow the link inside of the chat for an additional set of captions. After the demo, it's going to be super short, around 30 minutes total for the webinar. But after the demo, we're going to leave some time at the end for some questions. Please enter your questions into the Q&A box, and we will answer it at the end of the demo. If we don't get to your question, we will follow up via email. All right. Now to introduce our presenters today. We have Mashni, a solutions architect here at Deque. He is going to be doing the demonstration for you. And Melissa Roocroft, who is the product manager of Assure. So we have two Assure experts here, and we're very excited to show what we have in version 2.0. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Melissa to give us a brief overview of Assure before we get into the new stuff.
Okay, thanks, Greg. So Assure, now looking at the people that are on the call, I think you've got different ways in which you interact with the tool. Some of you, it looks like probably just from an assessment perspective, and some of you I know are licensed customers as well. So Assure is our platform where we deliver our assessments, and from a license perspective, you're probably more familiar with it for running your manual and automated tests. And in either scenario, you're probably getting good value off of the deep remediation and methodology that we provide at the issue level. So what I want to talk about next is in December, we sent out a brief survey, and the intent of the survey was just to understand if you were surprised by the number of issues in your assessment, and moreover, how you interact with the data. What do you do with the data? How do you curate it? How do you manage it? How do you pull it into your system and make it workable and able to be remediated by your developers? So we took this in and listened, and there was a clear pattern that started to emerge out of your answers to the questions and some of your open text answers. And it became very clear that we needed to move away from kind of a flat report to a way in which you can interact better with the data, because everyone's first go-to step was export the data into Excel, where you can kind of manipulate it and add metadata and do all sorts of analysis. So we wanted to take some of the features that we know you were looking for and build them back into the tool. So that's what we're excited to show you today. Our whole theme for this release is kind of making it easier for you to manage your issues. And just as a precursor, some of the things we've added, we know we're just at an MVP level, so we plan on gathering data, kind of understanding how you're using these fields that we've added, and then build this knowledge into future releases. So with that, I think I'm good.
Awesome, thank you, Melissa. All right, now we're going to get into the live demo portion. So Noah, please take it away.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Mashni. I'm a solutions architect and product specialist here at Deque. I'm happy to see some familiar names on this list. I've had the pleasure of working with a handful of you. Excited to show off some of Assure here. Most of you know Assure is our comprehensive manual accessibility testing support tool. This is kind of like us bottling up all of our 2 decades of SME experience of delivering assessments to customers and trying to make a tool that makes it easier for everybody to be able to do that. For a lot of you who have had experience using the tool, I hope you're as stoked as I am about some of the features that Melissa and her team have been able to deliver in this new version update, which is really exciting. Assure 2.0 is pretty exciting. And also just kind of paving the path of of connecting with our users. You guys are a wonderful community, and to connect with you and source that feedback. As a person who works with you all in the field on the front end, I'm excited to see Deque making good on that promise of connecting with you again and continuing to better the products for you all. So I need you to stop sharing so that I can share.
Okay, so here we've got a project dashboard within the Assure UI. This was not part of the 1.9 release, this is part of 1.8, so some of you may have seen this, but we're going to take a look at the project. I'm going to jump right into the issues report, I think, so we can take a look at some of the cool new features that Melissa and her team were able to generate based off everybody's feedback. So I'm going to jump into this issues report and start taking a look at some of these components that I think will be most interesting to you.
Good to note here is being able to establish groups for my issues. So if I've got some set of issues that I want to group in some meaningful way, whether that makes sense for me to do within the tool because it makes it easier for me to look at it, or maybe this is a grouping delineation I want to make as like a triage step on my way to creating JIRA tickets, whatever the reason, I now have this ability to do that. So as I selected the issues within the issues list that I want, the little check boxes, I can create a new group or I can add to an existing group. So I'm going to create a new group. This group's going to be called Noah's Awesome Group, which is where all the awesomest bugs go. These are the awesomest bugs. They go here. Status is, this right now is an open text field. So this is an instance where we get into what Melissa talked about earlier as MVP, right? You might expect that there could be some intelligent type ahead or a drop-down list of common statuses or tags or something like that. We have sort of purposefully delivered this as an open form tool, right, or open form element right now, because we want to drive the suggestions here through data, through people who are using this tool. How are they addressing the status field? What are they putting in there? And eventually, through feedback from you wonderful people, this will continue to evolve and improving it better.
Yeah,
but for now, the status is, we're just going to say open, and assigned to Grace. Kirkley at DQ something. Whatever, just filling it out. The point is that I can create this group, and that's super cool. So now there's this new group name field over here, and that's great. If I have other issues, maybe on page 2 that I want to grab, I can then add those to an existing group, which is right there. So there's this concept of groups. That's awesome. You'll also notice under show over here, I now have a second option. I can look at all my issues as issues, or I can route all this through grouping, right? So I've got now a groups view to my issues report, and you can see the 2 groups that are in this report. You can see that I've got nested underneath each group are all of the bugs that have been filed against those groups. I've also got this new concept of previews, which works at the group or issue level, which allows me to pull up some quick information without having to change pages. Hopefully, again, a time saver. This is something that we heard from our users that they're looking for. They want more immediate access to things without having to go back and forth between pages. So this is really great. I've got access to all this information on the fly. While I'm back looking at issues here, one of the other enhancements that has been made is the addition of this search function within the issues report. So if I want to be able to search through my issues by issue ID or issue summary, source code, comments, something like that, we heard overwhelmingly from our users that this was some feature functionality that people were looking for. And I think it's been delivered beautifully here. So one of the most common ones is to be able to search through something like source code. Right, so I know that I've got an offending component or something like that, and I just want to pull up all the issues that relate to that offending component so I can group them together in some meaningful way. So like, let's say I've got, I don't know, an image issue, and so as I start to kind of take a look at some image issues here, I need to click search. It's going to filter down my issues list to just those ones that relate to this thing. I think it's like, I could do that. I think is even more specific. That's too specific. So we'll go back to that. Anyway, I can then take some of these issues and group them into something that's more meaningful. Oops, don't click groups. So that's a new feature. I'm gonna add them back to this group. I mentioned the preview on the group side. There's also preview on the issue side. Again, just more immediate, quick access to the information on the fly without having to change pages. One of the cool things Melissa showed me earlier is if I'm searching for some specific source code, I'm just going to search that, that's fine. And I pull up within my filtered down list of my search results here, if I check out the preview on the issue, it'll actually highlight within the source code in the preview, it'll show me there's a highlight, a yellow highlight over this SRC value here. And so it kind of helps me to understand where my search term is within the source code that I'm looking at. So that's a neat connection that's there.
And that works for any of the search criteria.
Cool.
IDs, summaries, comments, whatever.
Right. So wherever the results relate back to the thing I searched for, it's going to highlight that connection for me.
Search string and highlight, yeah.
Very cool. I think the last new feature that I really wanted to hit home on, and this is one that really drives home for me personally, is a new digital asset filter. Is that what you're calling that, Melissa?
Yep.
So within
digital asset type.
Digital asset type. So within the actual support instructions for WorldSpace Assure, if I'm actually doing the testing, so this relates to our licensed users more so than it does our assessment customers. If I'm setting up a test run and I know that I'm testing this test run on a mobile device, it's a native mobile app, let's say. Historically, Assure has delivered to me all the instructions for desktop web, mobile web, native mobile, kiosk, PDF, all this wonderful information. But with the new digital asset selector, I can actually filter that down to only the support instructions and checkpoints that I need for my thing. So right now, this is set up for desktop web. It gives me all this wonderful information about how to do this for desktop web. For context, I've drilled through my report into a specific issue and then clicked on the checkpoint that issue is found under. So now I'm looking at the support material as though I'm actually doing the testing. But at the top, there's a digital asset type selector. I can change this from desktop web to, let's say, native mobile iOS. And it has updated the support material to give me just the instructions for native mobile iOS. So we're kind of shrinking the scope of this page to make it more relevant and useful for the testers actually doing the work. It is worth noting that this feature will only work moving forward. It's not going to be like backwards compatible with previous test runs or assessments that have been done before. But moving forward with new testing and new work being done by Assure users, this digital asset type selector and value should help to make those instructions more consumable, more accessible, more usable. And I believe...
Can you, there's two little things I'd kind of like you to highlight.
I would love to, please speak up.
Can you go to, if you back out and go to the grouping tab, there's two things I think people on the phone might value. Okay, so right here, if you, ID number 19, your Noah's Awesome Group, if you expand that and then click on the parent level one, the one that's got 11 in parens, what we added here is kind of a deep link. So if you click on that, up in the URL, that URL you can grab and send to anybody, and it's just a shortcut, a quick way for whoever you've assigned this group to access their group of issues right away. So fewer clicks, fewer navigating around, just straight to what you need to remediate.
Interesting, thank you.
Yep. And then the second thing is maybe if you back on the group tab again, like you showed for the issue preview, that double chevron thing, we've added a group preview as well. So all the metadata you've added, we put it right here in this group preview. And then you've also got, like Noah's typing in now, notes that you can then go ahead and search on. And whether this is something you want to use as you integrate into your other systems, like ticket tracking systems or whatever, this field is searchable, and we thought it'd be kind of helpful for tracking status and updates on tickets.
There you go. So I think this kind of concludes our brief walkthrough of these features. I don't know if there's any Q&A coming in or people have questions that we can kind of address here live on the call. Grace?
Yeah, so at this time, if you have any questions about what we just demoed for you, please feel free to input them into the Q&A module in the Zoom webinar. But to kick us off, we have a question here. So are there plans to interface the issues in Assure into ticket tracking systems in the future?
Okay, I'll take that. So a lot of the work that we're doing here is kind of groundwork for that to happen. You know, the concept of grouping these issues and adding metadata to it. Everything we've added is available in an export file, and the next steps are we're starting up a proof of concept to be able to take this information and integrate it into Jira. So we'll keep you updated on what that looks like, but that's kind of a Q1 activity, is to flesh that whole thing out and get past design and actually map some of the MVP fields and push this into Jira in kind of a parent-child hierarchy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Sure.
Here's another question. How can I use the tools shown here to better communicate with third-party people who I use to build my website?
Yeah, I think some of the ways that we can do that is the grouping that Noah's shown you. You can group it into groups that are maybe just specific for the vendor or maybe the part of the site that your vendor works on, and then in doing that, you can kind of delineate your vendor work versus maybe your internal dev work. And then you can also pass them, once you've got them grouped, you can pass, and if they're associated to the report, pass them the deep linked URL to that group ID that Noah showed us. So that kind of facilitates a little bit of easier discussion and management between company and outside vendors.
Also keep in mind that if you were a licensed Assure user and you're trying to feed this information out to maybe some agency developers you've got for remediation, and you aren't trying to create tickets out of it for them, you could, in theory, create like a customer level user access for somebody at that facility, and they could have, you know, read-only access to your report data after testing, right?
Yep, absolutely. So, we can step you through that if you want any help setting that up.
So you could actually create your developer agencies as though they were assessment customers of yours and deliver the reports to them that way.
Yeah, good point.
I see a question coming in through the QA about how do we stay up to date with Assure updates, right? So you guys are kicking out new updates, turning out the goods. Mm-hmm. How do we stay up on what is newest and greatest and bestest?
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's a link that maybe we can share after the webinar or post with the webinar that allows people to sign up for essentially an updates listserv or email. I'm not sure what the marketing term is for it. But yeah, there's an automated notification list that can go out so that when Assure updates happen, when patches and versions and all this stuff happen, you can stay in the know. And we'll make sure to link out to that after the webinar.
Yep, just put that link into the chat. This is a link to sign up for Assure updates. So whenever we have a new version of Assure, or if we're having another webinar like this, you will be notified of all new and great things that are happening.
And if anybody's wondering about a release date for this, we're probably we're looking at 3 weeks or so out from now. We're looking at probably mid-March. And once that's locked up, we'll be, if you sign up for these notifications, we'll be sending external release notes via that method too. So you'll get all the details, all the little juicy tidbits on this.
Gotta stay plugged in.
Yeah.
But if there's no more questions?
Yeah. Looks like no more questions, but if anything crops up in the afternoon, you're just still thinking about Assure and have an additional question, feel free to reach out to us you can reach out to me at grace.kirkley@deque.com. And we will follow up with the slides and recording of this webinar. Please look out for Assure 2.0 happening in the imminent future. We're super excited for you to get your hands on some of these new features that will help you manage your issues better. And I hope you enjoyed this webinar and found it helpful. We are having a similar Comply webinar happening next Tuesday. Noah will also be attending that webinar and doing an awesome demo. So if you're interested in that, please sign up, and we hope to see you there.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everybody on the phone.
Yeah, thank you for your time. We appreciate it, guys.